Good afternoon, this is Tom Alexander. It is Monday, August 16th. It is about 5:45 a.m. Eastern time in the US, and I'm going to do a special update because we had a rather extraordinary day today in this absolutely fascinating market. So let's take a look at a few things here. Okay, in the report that you received, this is the chart, or this is the chart that was in the report that you received. And the divergences just continue to build and build and build. And you can see the 10-day moving average, the 3-day moving average are both declining. Now, I'll come back to this in just a minute. Brent closed today at negative 962, and this was following a rally that began in the morning and traded straight up almost to the tick into the close. So something finally here, seems like I say this a lot, has to give. And I outlined two scenarios in the report that I sent you. One is we start reversing this in Globex, we gap down and we retrace the entire range that we saw today. The other scenario, which I frankly think is more likely, is this. And I'm going to go over here now, and I'm going to get to all the indices, and I'll give you levels to watch in all the indices. But I want to go over to this chart. Now, this is a basically cash session only of the ES. And below here, you see Brett. I'm going to get rid of all these lines, and you can see, I'll scrunch up the chart here. You can see that there's a very consistent pattern, even though the relationship between price and breadth is much, much trickier in bull trends than it is in downtrends, in down markets and sell-offs. But what you see still, even though we have this furious market that is so extraordinarily big, you still have this relationship between price and breadth where you can draw some conclusions about the most probable path going forward. And the typical pattern in a bull trend is you get a momentum peak. This was a momentum peak. And then you have a series of higher prices on less breadth. And then these lower levels down here, and today kiss that lower level that's pretty consistent with pivot lows and bull trends. And I mentioned this in the live trade room today. And you can see we bottomed almost, not quite, but very close to the exact low in breadth and went straight up. So you can see the pattern there. So this pattern held. But what did not happen, or has not happened yet, we got no expansion in breadth that accompanied this rally. But you can see here, you have to be alert when you get these, these divergences, and there's a pattern where you will get the series of higher highs in price. You'll get lower highs in breadth. You'll have these minor retracements, and then the cycle will sort of start over again. Well, what has been interesting about this particular cycle is that the breadth kickoff was way over here. This was back on the 20th, almost not quite a month ago, of July. And since then, and then we had, this was not a big surprise, we had furious rally after that with breadth sort of waning along the way, then a little bit of a retracement, then a higher high, a little bit of retracement, et cetera. Each time we've gotten down into this area, it has held. So when we get back down here again, it will be important. So where are we? Well, we have set now the mother of all divergences against this higher high here. This is not sustainable, even in a bull trend. So what I think is going to happen, this is a guess, okay, but it's an educated guess from 36 years of trading experience and working with this particular price breadth relationship. I think what you're going to see, I think what we'll see overnight, I think we'll see some balance that will form. Now, if I'm right about this scenario, we shouldn't retrace more than half of whatever that is. I'm going to ballpark it, say 44.56. If we start generating momentum below about half of today's range, that's a negative sign. And that would be a signal that, okay, maybe we're going to retrace this entire move. But unless we do that, what I think we'll see some balance in here, and it may happen in Globex mostly. But tomorrow, if I'm correct, should be an up day. And I think we will see, if it is an up day, then I think we'll see an expansion in breadth. Now, I don't think breadth is going to expand to the level that we saw back on the 20th of July. I think it will be yet another lower high in this ongoing leg that began, that began here. And this was the last time we got a negative 2,000 closing breadth reading. And I will refer you back to reports done at that time on this day. But this was a reset. And every time we've hit negative 2,000 on a closing basis since March 2020, it has fueled an extremely strong rally. We're starting to push the upper limits of the typical, at least lower extreme of what those rallies have been, but that's another story. And if we continue higher, I will update and expound on that in more detail. So for tomorrow, what I would be looking for, number one, I expect higher prices above today, and I expect breadth to expand, but I don't think you'll see breadth. I'd be surprised if you see breadth above this peak level right here, which is about plus 16, plus 1,700. I'd be really surprised if it matches this. If it does match this, it's very bullish short term, and it likely postpones any even short-term high for at least a matter of days. Now let's take a look at each of the indices individually. And here we go. So we had the NQ closed on its high, and it looks like it is perched to take out its all-time high. So I'd be surprised if it doesn't do that. That's one reason I tend to favor pretty strongly the scenario where we do go higher tomorrow, as long as we don't take out roughly halfway back to 50% retracement of today's range. The Dow also closed at a new all-time high today. And our friend, the Russell, continues to lag and be weak. So this is bizarro, the Russell, but I've talked about that. I sent a report out this weekend, and the levels that I had in that report, the minor levels, were here and here, and we came right into that minor level today. Now, the Russell closed in the lower half of today's range, which, again, is just absolutely bizarre. But that's the market we're dealing with. Now, let me go back to the page I started with, and I'm going to show you one other thing. Now, if breadth picks up tomorrow and it closes somewhere up in here, then that will likely turn the moving averages of NYSE advancing issues up to a degree. At this point, I'm going to be surprised if either take out their minor peaks right here. This is in the 5-day moving average and in the 10-day moving average. It basically peaked on the second at this level. And so even if we go higher another % or two, I think we're going to still see these intermediate term divergences continue to mount. So this is going to be something interesting to follow this week. I hope you found this helpful. If you did find it helpful, do me a favor, please subscribe to the channel and like the video. I will continue to update this as we progress here. Have a good evening.